All right. Hello. So we're gonna try to do something new today, and we're gonna try to do a campaign diary. Well, it's more like a one-shot diary. But I want to talk about a game that I ran and talk about some stuff that I learned and how maybe me learning stuff could translate into you guys learning stuff. Um, so I'll talk a little bit about each thing, and we'll see how it goes. I'm not gonna give you guys the whole summation of the entire session and everything that happened, because I think that it would be boring to just kind of like sit here and listen to me read a plot synopsis. Um, but so I ran this game for a friend of mine and three friends of his who I did not know. Um, and my understanding was that they didn't have a ton of D&D experience, but they were like really excited to play and really excited to check it out. And so um, I decided to give them third level characters to start, which is a little complicated, but I like third level because it's not too complicated yet. But it gives you more than just like a first or second level character. Um, and I made their character sheets for them. So I instead of sitting down and going through the entire character creation process with them, I asked them all what they wanted to play, what race and class, and I sent them materials so that they could look at all of them. And they told me what they wanted to do, and I rolled up their characters for them. I didn't make any decisions as far as like personality traits or alignment or any of that stuff. I let them do all of that. But mechanically, I wrote out all of their character sheets for them, and wrote them in such a way that they would be like simple and easy to read. So that instead of spending a bunch of time explaining how to make characters to them, I could instead, at the start of the session, take like 10 or 20 minutes with each person and say, here's your character, here's what you do, here's how to use all of these different abilities and weapon attacks and stuff like that, magic spells. And then you tell me your character's name and what they look like and all of that. And that worked out really well. It got us into the game a lot quicker. Um, so that was a thing that I did that I liked. A thing that I did that I didn't like was I made them roll on a bonds table. So bonds are a mechanic from Dungeon World, where the characters can roll these different things or for make them themselves, um, where they can talk about backstories that individual party members have with each other from before the start of the adventure. And I really like this, and I really like the mechanic, and I was really excited to try it. Um, I shouldn't have done it in this game. I shouldn't have done it in this game because it was a little weird to the players. They didn't quite understand it, which is fair. It's not part of the standard like D&D. Oop, sorry, I keep hitting this microphone. Um, it's not part of the standard like D&D rule set. I like it because it kind of fleshes out stuff, but in hindsight, I shouldn't have used it for this. I could have used it if they were experienced with it or I had told them about it in advance. But what actually ended up happening was I had them all roll on this table to figure out all of their relationships to each other, and then it didn't really come up because they were spending a lot of their brain powers kind of like digesting what was going on and playing their characters and getting the mechanics of the thing down, and not a ton of brain power role playing, which is fine for your first time playing D&D. So that was a thing that was not so great. But the session itself, once we got in and started playing, I felt was pretty well paced. I tried this structure that I found online. And this guy, let me just make sure I've got John4roleplayingtips.com, um, called it's the 5-room structure of dungeons, um, that this guy, I guess, like wrote a book about, and has like a bunch of examples and stuff. And I took this structure for dungeons and applied it to the entire session as a whole. So the idea is that there are 5 different kind of events that occur in a dungeon, or in my case, the session. There's a entrance or a guardian. There's a puzzle or a role-playing encounter. There's a trick or a twist, a boss fight, and then a revelation or a twist that leads to some sort of reward. And that was cool, and that was fun, and it gave me a good sense of pacing and being able to have an idea of how far into the story we were going and how much farther we needed to go, and about how much time would be left in the session. I knew that like we got to the 3rd section and we would have two more left, and that would take us X number of hours. I don't actually remember. But it was it was a good thing. It worked out. Yeah. What's another thing? Oh yeah. I wrote out some bullet points, but I don't have a script necessarily. We're winging it again, because that's my jam, I guess. Coming up with names for NPCs. So I've tried in the past coming up with like good names for NPCs, and like coming up with these cool names that I thought were like gonna be like badass and like it would like make for memorable characters, only for my players to immediately meme on them. So my naming convention now, and this is another tip, is to come up with just like goofy names for characters, especially if they're just like for a one-off session, or they're not like a super major side characters. The example that I have is from this session. My players were working for some archaeologists in a desert, and one of them, his name was Nigel Bornthery, and he was a human explorer and had a large red mustache and a pet monkey, and you get it, and the players got it, and that became a goof and a laugh, and like he had a funny voice, and he was very haughty and had a very gruff and adventurous demeanor, but he was a goofball, and that NPC was made to be a goofball, and it was really fun for everyone. So just having goofy names and having goofy characters are sometimes going to be more memorable than trying to come up with like cool badass edgy characters and stuff like that. The last thing that I've got one more kind of like thing, and it's not necessarily a tip. It's just kind of a cool thing that happened that I was kind of proud of. We took 2 breaks over the course of the like 5.5 hour session. I don't like the whole like D&D is we sit down and we start playing and we don't stop until like everyone falls asleep or whatever. I like to be able to sit down and go like, all right, I plan to play for 5 hours, and that's the amount of content that I've prepared, and I know that I'll be able to hold the player's attention and hold my own attention for about that long, and then afterwards, in order to stop everything from dragging, we're just going to end the session. But during our last break, so because I knew that we were kind of breaking it up this way, I ended each break on kind of like a plot twisty, like kind of like, oh my gosh moment. And the second break that we had, ended with this like very important NPC that the players finally got to meet, um, uh, essentially like getting assassinated, like, but like one shot. And the trick that I used was, um, in order to show this NPC getting one shot because they were weakened. I rolled damage against them. I rolled to hit and I rolled damage against them. I roll out in the open. I don't have a DM screen. I just don't. Um, but so what I did was I said, all right, so you guys are talking to this person and they're about to tell you something, and out of nowhere an arrow comes out of nowhere and pierces them right in the neck, and I'm gonna have to roll damage. And then I said, I started picking up some d6s, and I picked up like 6 or 7 of them and said, does anyone have a few more d6s? And I had them give me and meanwhile the players are freaking out. They're like, oh my god. And so I rolled like 8 or 9 d6 worth of damage. It ended up being like 30 something, which was like a pretty low roll now that I'm thinking about it. The amount of damage didn't matter. It was going to kill them no matter what. But then going into that break, my players all went out to have a smoke and hang out, and I don't smoke, so I was just kind of like hanging out and prepping like the last little bits and doing what I had to do, and I was listening to them while they were out taking their break, and the entire time on their break all they were thinking about is what was their next move, how were they going to escape, what if they have to fight this thing that dealt so much damage and stuff. And I found I kind of took that as a mark of a successful session or campaign or one shot or whatever, that they were engaged enough that while they were taking this break and they were back in reality, they were still thinking about this kind of twist that I had put before them, which led to an encounter, which led to the end of the session. They all survived. It was fine. So yeah, I just wanted to do this quick little video, put something out, talk about this session that I ran that I thought was a neat little thing, come up with some tips and some takeaways. If you watch this, hey, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. That's a thing that you're supposed to say on YouTube, right? Let me know if this was a cool thing or a thing that you enjoyed, because I can do more of this and maybe be slightly more prepared, or figure something out. But anyways, that's gonna do it for me for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.